Are you ready?
Go for it.
All right. Welcome back to another episode of Small Guys Podcast. Today, we are doing a rewind on probably the most scariest movie any of us have ever seen, Hereditary.
Not a chance.
The most scariest movie.
Most scary
I was just
movie
thinking
of all
about
time.
that.
All right. Hereditary is a 2018 American psychological
This guy
horror
butchers
film.
our intros. He might.
You guys are laughing during it. This is serious. Hereditary is a 2018.
Cut his pay.
Did you say Ratatouille?
Ratatouille is a 2018 American psychological horror story. All right, I'm starting from the beginning. Ready? Wall-E is a 2018 American horror film written and directed by Ari Aster and his feature directorial debut, which I did not know. It stars Toni Collette, Alex Wolff, Millie Shapiro, and Gabriel Byrne as the members of a family haunted by a mysterious presence after the death of their secretive grandmother. Yeah, very, very, very scary. The box office for this in the US
Very scary.
was 44 million. The runtime is 2 hours and 7 minutes. It's an A24 film, rated R, horror mystery thriller. It got a 90% audience or 90% critic score and a 69% audience score. I'm shocked by how low the audience score
They
is.
just didn't understand it.
They just
There's
didn't.
layers to this.
So I want to start off because I just talked to Josh about this because he just watched the movie today and I watched it I don't know 5-6 days ago for the first time ever. He was sending.
This is my second time seeing it.
Yeah,
this is
I just
first
finished
time.
my second watch.
So I have to disclose something because Josh was sending Snapchats, especially one scene in particular, towards the end of the movie with all the people outside of the house. I think my TV was too dark.
Oh yeah, dude. Well,
I didn't see any of that.
The
I
beauty
didn't
of
even
this
know that was
movie
there.
is that there is numerous scenes where there's naked people scattered in the background,
Yeah,
and it's super dark. And like you have to be looking for them because I only noticed like one or two, and it's because Jack was over and Jack was like, "Hey, there's one right there," and I was like, "Fuck!" Like never noticed that. But like the thing too, Andrew, with that again, you're like even though Josh snapped it and I kind of remembered it from the first time, I was looking for it this time. I was like, "Oh fuck!" Like yeah, it's easy to miss.
So with that said, like I still, and we'll reflect it later in the review with the ratings and everything. This was still, I liked the movie, but I feel like I missed out on a lot of the scary aspect because there were just things that I just literally didn't see.
So
Because the TV was too fucking dark. Like I
Did
needed
you
to turn up
fucking
the brightness.
watch it in your living room with the sun shining or something?
No, I watched it in my room actually with Emma, and I don't know.
were the lights off?
The lights were off, and I mean, no, I was paying attention. Like we actually watched it, and
So did you see Annie? Not to skip to the end, but when Peter wakes up with his nose busted up, did you see Annie hanging up on the ceiling?
that I did see. Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, at least you
That's
saw that.
super
If
dark.
you didn't
Like-
see that, yeah.
Like you might not see her up in the corner, but the second she like demon crawls off the wall, like yeah, you can
Oh
see
no,
it.
you
yeah.
know, I feel like you noticed
She
it
was
right away.
floating. She was
Yeah.
floating.
Dude,
Yeah.
I forgot. Well, I don't want to jump the gun to the end, but let's just keep going because there's a scene that I completely forgot and just started cracking up about.
While we're on this topic, though, so the guy at the funeral, when you see him butt ass naked in the doorway, just like looking,
At the very end,
looking,
yeah.
bro, it was one of like it wasn't even like weird in like a scary way. It was just weird, like in a weird way.
Yeah, because you noticed it because in the funeral scene, he's like smiling and staring, and it's like, why the fuck are you smiling at a funeral? I mean, it's the
Yeah.
first 5 minutes of the movie, and then you kind of do remember him at the end. It's like, oh, that same fucker's there, naked, smiling.
It
You know
was
what I
just
mean?
one of the weirdest like callbacks.
Yeah, it really was. Yeah, just to kind of show that that cult is everywhere.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Yeah, I don't. So Andrew, you said that you didn't really think this movie was that scary. Is
So
that because you couldn't see some of it?
Because
Because I think
know,
that's
feel-
crazy.
I know, and I feel like I almost need to fucking rewatch this with the brightness. My TV's always kind of been like that, and it's sad is it's like fairly new. I think I got it like a year or two ago, and it wasn't that cheap. So maybe I just need to mess with the settings.
yeah.
But I almost feel like I missed out. So I didn't think this was that scary. Like, don't get me wrong, it was a good scary movie, and it is scary. But I mean, you guys kind of gassed it up. You were, especially you, Josh. You were like, "This is the scariest."
Oh my
movie
God, there's someone
I've
in the
ever
doorway
seen."
behind Brian.
No, what the fuck?
Um, God, that's
I
just
didn't
like
even see
Hereditary.
his ass, bro.
But I feel like I'm there he is again.
It's a handsome ghost.
This is exclusive YouTube content only. You have to
At
be
least he's a
watching.
handsome ghost.
That is a handsome ghost. Is your house cold? He's got a beanie on.
It's fall time in Michigan. Come
All
on.
right, fair.
Yeah, I kind of wish I would have been able to watch this movie in theaters when I watched it for the first time. I think I watched it like probably a year after it came out. Which is funny too, because when Andrew said the movie wasn't scary, I'm like, okay, well maybe it's because I watched it when I was younger, but no, I watched it when I was 19 for the first time. It just came out in 2018.
I was gonna say I watched it when I
Yeah,
was
I'm like,
21
no,
and I was scared as fuck.
Yeah, I was an adult. Like that's scary as fuck. So I don't know. And like that last 20 minutes is like some of the
when
scariest shit I think
everything
I've
just
ever seen.
comes together, dude.
Yeah.
Like, because I was telling Jack, so you're going through it your first time, and I guess I just don't really remember my first reactions because now we're going on like 2 years from the first time I saw it, and I was telling Jack, I was like, I remember just feeling bad for this lady, but watching it from the beginning, it's like, oh, she's crazy. But then you realize in those last 30 minutes is when, oh fuck, I feel bad for her because she figured out she was set up. Her mom was fucking insane and basically hosting a demon the whole fucking time to sacrifice the lamb, killing the youngest to make it the sacrificial lamb. Like, that is so fucking crazy. And she has to be like, hey, I know I almost burnt the house down sleepwalking, but listen to me now.
Yeah.
Well, Charlie being Pyman, I had to like look at that on like online with like an article. I didn't realize that at first.
Yeah, well, it comes to because you see the spirit float in, and then like when Peter gets up, he's here, and that's Charlie's signature.
Yeah.
And that's when it's like fuck, because again, yeah, you don't really notice it. And I know, again, same thing, like first time around, didn't really get it. Even this time around, I was like, wait, I remember I read about this. Oh fuck, like yeah, that is her in there.
So I think the clucking is Pineman. Like that's what's supposed to represent, because that's why at the beginning of the movie he is
Also,
inside
I'm
Charlie.
pretty sure.
Yeah, that's what I mean, Josh. I didn't know that he was inside Charlie up
Mhm.
until she died.
Oh yeah, that's why Charlie was weird as hell.
Yeah,
The whole thing.
And then
I
like
just
that glowing light's supposed to be Pyman, but like it's weird because earlier on in the movie, and I catch this my second time through, is Charlie is in her room and you see that light. So it's like, is he on a smoke break from her or something? Like, why isn't he in her or something? So I don't know. So, but I wanted to ask you guys, what did you think of her death? I mean, that was like my first time watching.
Oh my god, that was
my jaw was on the ground for
brutal.
like 10
Yeah,
minutes.
because I thought she was going to be the one being haunted throughout the whole movie my first time. I remember that. And when it happened, I remember I looked at Meeker and I go, wait, what the fuck? Like, what is happening?
She's chopping up birds' heads and shit.
Yeah, dude.
Oh, for sure. I thought she would be the
so
one. Like,
so as soon as one, I was shocked by her death. That I don't think anyone can predict that or see that coming. But two, I then in my head I'm like, okay, whatever this demon is, I'm thinking it's gonna come for both of the kids. It's got her. Maybe she wasn't a key part. Now it's going for the son next. I can't remember his name. What's his name? Peter. Thank you.
Also, the actor that plays him. Do you guys know where we know him from?
Naked Brothers
Naked
Band.
Brothers Band.
He was in the movie Old too.
Yep.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I thought it was going to be like the demon or whatever it was. I mean, I didn't really know it was going to come after like all of the kids at that point.
Mm-hmm.
Well, obviously it was set up. Like she was supposed to die.
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
yeah.
She was the sacrificial lamb. And see, that's what was
Right.
cool about this movie was the whole occult aspect to it. Because it's like you hear about it, and then like in a movie like this where it's fake, like you can actually see like the practice dragged out. Some people believe it's real, to each their own, whatever. But in this movie, they do a really good job about that, to where the grandma again was basically just hosting this demon. And I don't know if you picked up on it, but they talk about how what's the mom's name? Not the grandma, like the actual mom.
Annie.
How Annie had a brother, and how Annie's brother was drove to suicide because he was convinced that his mom, the grandma, had put something in his brain, like people's voices in his brain.
Yep.
And they blamed it as schizophrenic, but no, you find out it was like his soul was somehow able to fight off Payman. And in that sense, that like it drove him to madness.
Yeah, I don't even know why. I don't even remember that my first time watching it. Maybe
I don't-
this is
Yeah,
overly
I think I
it was
honest.
missed
just
that.
something I caught around this time that because she
too.
just mentions it very quickly when she's talking to Charlie.
Yep.
And then I looked at Jack and I was like, does this just imply that like she killed the brother basically? And he was like, yeah.
Yeah.
And that was
I
crazy.
didn't even catch that.
And then on top of that, in that same conversation, it's basically talked about how like Charlie was born and for whatever reason the mom was driven to suddenly talk to her mom again after not talking to her for the past like 3 or 4 years, whatever it was. And then on top of that, the grandma went as far as breastfeeding Charlie. She wouldn't even let Annie do it.
Which I don't know how that works at her age, but
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. And that was the thing too. So it was like this
I
was
mean, the bitch from Hereditary.
this was
or
a
not Hereditary.
very barbarian.
Barbarian. Thank
Yeah,
you.
Yeah.
but yeah, this was a very long con.
it is. Yeah. And like they have how all their lives are really going to map out to the
Mhm.
point where they can get both of them in Peter's body.
Right.
Yeah, Grandma is a fucking mastermind in this one.
No, but like watching it the second time through,
Yep.
it's crazy the amount of foreshadowing that's really in this movie. I mean, in the first 5 minutes, like they're like Charlie's like eating candy at the funeral, and he's like, "There's no nuts in there, right?" And
Mhm.
talking about how they forgot her EpiPen and everything like that. It's just like there's these subtle little things that like is all
You don't even
foreshadow.
Yeah,
I feel
because
like 70%
even
of this movie
before-
is foreshadow.
Oh yeah, well, because even before she eats the cake, I didn't know if you caught it. The girl in the party, they zoom in on it. She's just cracking nuts to put into the batter.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah,
wow.
yeah, it's like a thing of peanuts.
I need
That's
to
what she's
rewatch
doing.
this.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and that's crazy. And also a very quick glimpse. If you look at the pole that takes off
The symbol.
Charlie's head,
I
yeah,
did
the
see that.
symbol
I
is
saw
on
that. I feel
And
like they kind
again,
of pan at that for a
Yeah,
while.
and
I
that
didn't
one is
see that.
one,
Really?
and that's again where you have to piece it together like an hour later when
Yeah.
Annie's going fucking nuts. It's like, oh my god, this Joan lady basically told me to invite a demon into the house, and I know this because of all the symbolism.
But
Yeah.
there's
Yeah.
there Charlie's death really quick. First off, that's the first time I've ever seen this movie yesterday. And that was probably like top 5, like one of the most shocking things I've ever seen in a movie.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. You
I
don't
did not
expect it.
expect that one bit.
They like emphasize that she's 13 and then just smoke her head off.
Next thing you know, yeah, that's
And then
That-
it quick cuts like 10 minutes later, just fucking bugs eating her head. And you're just
Yeah, it
like,
was
oh my
fucked.
God.
Same thing to when fucking Allie's or what's her name? Annie's having the
Annie.
dream and fucking Peter's face is covered in the bugs. I couldn't get over that. It's
Ugh.
disgusting.
the paint
Yeah, so-
thinner. The paint thinner scene too.
Yes.
Yes.
I forgot about that one.
Yeah, this movie is
so
literally gaslighting you.
Yeah.
But
Um
with Charlie's
Mhm.
death really quick. So you're telling me that everything was thought out from
The deer was brought out by the cult members
yes.
on the roadway. Like everything
even like her getting an allergic reaction and her mom driving her to go to the party.
Now, I don't know about the allergic reaction. That's
Yeah.
kind of random. But again, with this being a manipulative ghost that was pretending to be other people that we see later on in the movie,
Maybe.
I believe like there's enough in for the mom to be like, the spirit to turn the mom towards, hey, your brother said he's going to this thing for school. You're fucking going with him,
Yeah.
So like, if anything, they did force her out of the house. I feel like the peanut allergy thing was just an added bonus for the demons.
Yeah. Well, and this movie too, it's a lot interpretation kind of because like Alex Wolff's character Peter's having that nightmare where he's getting choked.
Yep.
Was it actually the mom or was it just a nightmare and he wasn't getting choked? Like
It-
you kind of have to piece some things together. Or at the beginning when Annie first sees her mother in the corner,
Yep.
is Annie just seeing things or was the mother really there? It's up to
Actually there.
interpretation.
See, and that's what's really wild because again, that scene in the high school before Peter fucks up his face, in the last like 30 minutes, when Joan's across the street yelling at Peter to let go and run away and stuff like that, and she's yelling it, and she's like a good like fucking like 50 yards away, and no one else can hear her. Like
Yeah.
Peter is looking
Exactly.
right at her. Exactly. And it's like, well, fuck, like, is it real or not? Like, because again, Joan's not even home. So it's like Joan could be yelling at him at the school, but for
Literally.
everyone else to not hear it, you have no clue. It's all interpretation from there.
Well,
Yeah.
two things with that. So apparently Alex Wolff did his own stunt when he
Yeah.
put his head on the desk and
Mhm.
he even told Ari Aster that he would like break his nose actually. If
Yeah, like he actually
wanted-
broke. No, I thought he actually did, and that was real blood.
It is real
I
bud.
don't-
The desk
I
was
don't
made
think
of
he broke his
foam,
nose.
and he's still so he's able to break his nose, I guess. But I mean, too, you guys might have read this that he actually had everyone call him Peter for the entire time shooting this movie until the last day where he's like, "My name's actually Alex. You guys can call me Alex now." He was in character the entire time, and I mentioned it last week or last episode rather, where I said for Dahmer that Evan Peters might want to. I don't know, depending on how it did on his mental health, go see a therapist. Alex Wolff actually did have to go see a therapist for multiple months and stuff. I'm sure he might
out
still
of this role,
because this movie, what the toll took on him for this movie. And then too, just to mention it really quick, also Toni Collette, the mom, this is one of the most infamous like snubs ever. She didn't win a single award. She wasn't even nominated for a single
Dude,
Wow.
she
She was
carried
crazy.
this
Really good.
fucking
Yes.
movie. The scene alone when they're at the fucking dinner table should have won any award that she fucking dreamed of, because that scene, that switch up of her going from total chill to Alex just being like, all
Flipping
right,
a
sorry, Peter, hey, are you okay? And it's like she pauses, like, that's a dumbass question. My mom just died, my youngest just died in a complete freak accident that should have happened. And again, he even says it at the end of her giant rant where he's like, you're the one that told her to go to the party. And again, that's another thing. She's snubbing that down like inside of herself, that she already knows deep down that she kind of did play a big part in this.
Yeah.
And also, you know what I didn't catch too? When she goes to that first meeting or second meeting and she runs into Joan outside, and they're at like Joan's asking why she hasn't been there. And she goes, oh, it's because my daughter was killed. She didn't say that she died. She put killed, meaning that there's a killer and that Peter is that killer.
You know, I did think, I was like, that's kind of a weird way to say it.
I never noticed that. Like, again, that was another minute where I looked at Jack and I go, holy fuck, like I've never realized that, like at all.
When Annie went to Joan's apartment and she noticed that the front door,
the mat,
yeah, it looked familiar. And when she went back home and looked through her mom's stuff and found pictures of Joan,
well, that's when she really starts connecting
it. Pieced it together.
That right there was one of the like what the fuck moments. Like that was,
dude. What about when it pans in Joan's apartment? Right?
Yeah, and she's got the picture
with the stuff
of
with Peter and everything.
Peter.
Yeah.
God, the chills. I mean, the last 30 minutes of this movie is just like,
well, at that point, you know that when it, because I think it pans to her with the thing with Peter. I don't, is it before or after Anne starts?
It's after she teaches her the seance.
No. I know that, but I'm saying, is it after she starts figuring it out, or is it before?
I think that was right before.
Yeah, it's right before. She's starting to piece things together, and she wanted to go talk to Joanne about it.
And then it shows us that scene.
And then that next scene is Joanne yelling to Peter, like Brian was talking about, from like 50 yards away. And that's why, like he said, he's like, we know that she's not home because, you know, Annie just went there to go see her.
Yeah.
So, and that's like an awesome way for them to kind of like pair the scenes together.
Yep.
Yeah.
Can we talk about why everybody's naked at the end?
That's the cult.
It's just a cult thing. And that's the thing too. That's a crazy ass picture. Well, obviously in the treehouse where they have the picture of the grandma, because you know she's the fucking, like, she's the queen bee. She was the leader of them. But then they have that picture too where they're just showering in gold, because that's what the demon loves. Like, you know, that's his thing. So like that's their ritual, is the person in charge of the cult they kind of treat as if they, like, he is like, or the, you know, the person is them.
Yeah.
So that was like, that picture gave me chills. And then same thing, I noticed it this time, before the grandma was found in the attic, the noises that wake up Peter, you can hear it coming from the attic, and that's them putting the body there.
Yeah, yeah, like, and then too, they smelt that smell, that awful smell when they walked in the house earlier.
They couldn't figure it out.
Yeah.
And then what's crazy too is, again, I think I kind of had an idea. I remember I pieced it together at the end of my first time, but did you guys piece that together as watching it for your first time this week? When the dad gets the call about the grave being defaced, they didn't really say anything that happened with it.
Yeah.
But then obviously, you know, you see the picture, and like, that's what's wild, is the phone call happens. And then that's why the husband's like, I get this phone call and I deny it because I think it's too soon for you to hear it. And, you know, that's when he's thinking Annie had brought the mom's body in there.
Yeah.
To say something was defaced though, and it's like completely fucking dug up and
Yeah.
are a little bit different. That kind of was like, okay,
Maybe deface wasn't the word.
no,
but
I think
I
they
think it's
do.
the one they used.
There
They
was
do
a
use
word
it.
that they like pussyfoot around it, you know?
Yeah, which I
That
was like,
something happened, but they didn't say the extent of
the
what.
face sounds like someone drew a penis on it, not dug the whole
Right,
thing up and grabbed the body out.
What about that the scene where Annie's floating up in the air and just stabbing herself left and right?
Oh my
The
god.
piano wire.
Yeah, where she's
Ooh.
just slitting her own neck.
Oh, was it
Oh,
wire?
Yeah. And that's all prosthetics too. So they gave her like this kind of like fake padding neck and had her do it. Like a lot of this movie is not CGI.
I think that's why it looks.
Yeah, like even
more
so, like
gross.
Charlie's head, who's
That was
played by
actually her head.
yeah, that's actually her head. No, it's played by Amelia Shapiro, and she loves horror movies. This is her first ever movie ever, and she actually really wanted to keep the head. And she
there was
asked if she could keep the head, even with the bugs and stuff, like destroying it. But like all that shit is like mainly like prosthetic. It's not like they try to not do any CGI or as much as they couldn't do,
Mhm.
basically.
And actually, while we're on the topic, this is actually the first A24 film that I saw, like that I can actually think of like actually
They're
watching.
killing it in my book.
Yeah, because ever since
Yeah.
then, and they were on a roll because it went this movie, then Midsummer, and then
Yep.
they went with Tenet, right? That was that them?
No, I don't
No,
think
No,
so.
not
that's
Tenet.
not
What was
them.
they had? Parasite. That was A24, wasn't it?
Actually,
I thought they had another absolute banger.
I mean,
before
Everything
they had-
Everywhere All at Once.
Well, I was gonna say before that.
I
one.
can look. I'm not sure if it is.
For
It
some
might be.
reason, I thought there was like a third movie where they just came out the runnings, and then that's when I found out they were like, "Oh, that's like James Franco's film company." I was like, "Well, that fucking sucks," because that was
Uncut
like,
Gems.
And
yeah, Uncut Gems was another one.
is it
For
James
some reason,
Franco's?
I thought there was one more.
They're responsible.
Well,
for
this was the fourth.
Euphoria.
I think this is the fourth
Goddamn.
A24 film
Mm-hmm.
to hit theaters,
Okay.
get a
Oh,
worldwide
wow.
release.
Only that
Moonlight,
film?
Brian, I think is what you're thinking of. Which one? Best Picture.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
Yeah,
because
Lady Bird 2 is another good one.
Lady Bird's a fucking phenomenal movie.
Yeah.
Okay, well then I guess technically Moonlight was, but I didn't know A24 at all at that point. Because
And it's crazy.
Fun
it's crazy
fact-
because- I'm
wait,
sorry.
what were you saying? You can go.
No, go on.
Oh,
I was
I
gonna
just-
say.
Go.
I was gonna say that all these films are really low budget.
Yeah.
Yeah, they do a damn good job too. It
Mhm.
shows. That's a good point, Mike. It shows that you don't need $100 million budget to pull off a good
Mhm.
movie, and A24 is.
Daybreak.
Yes.
Well, dude, look at Ari Aster, the director of this film. This is his first like movie.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Like-
so A24, if you hear this, like, I want a movie. Give me a movie. I'm trying to do a movie.
They only make bangers.
I know that's why they need me.
Oh,
You can be like an executive producer or something if they let
I'll
me
just
on.
start on it.
Okay.
Yeah, it's crazy to me. It's still like the fact that no one in this movie was nominated for anything, and like Brian said with that dinner scene, right? It's like
Mhm.
how it's crazy to me. But yeah, it's famous. This movie, one of the most famous things from this movie is the fact that Toni Collette was not even nominated for anything like that. So I was really interested to see what you guys' reaction to knowing that would be.
That's
That's insane.
depressing.
Well,
Yeah, I
just
mean, like when
'cause-
she's crying on the ground.
I was gonna
screaming
say
for 2.5
that
minutes.
Ugh.
scene, dude. Well, even
Sold
when
it.
she finds Charlie's body, which again, we've been jumping around this whole thing, and I love when we do that because it just shows that we were like really heavily invested into this. But before I talk about her acting, the scene after the beheading happens and Peter drives all the way home and leaves the car, and we watch the whole night go by and he's just awake, like the shock that kid
She wakes
must
up.
have been going through. And then that's the thing, when she goes up to the car, that screaming is like the most authentic because it's like, it's coming from the body. It's not like the typical like like it is like the straight like where it's
Yeah.
like paused and staggered because your voice is so raw. And like that scream alone, you hear that, and then like you said, Josh, that crying scene, like
Oof.
like her throat's hurting after that. Like she's actually putting heart into this shit. And then
Well-
you get something like the dinner scene, and like for her to get snubbed, still one of the craziest fucking things.
No, really,
two
it
things,
is.
two things with her. So one, for a fact she's had to been through some type of shit in real life.
Yeah, she's
Yeah,
got to be
no
tapping
separate-
in.
Like she's tapping into some demons when she's
Mhm.
actually acting on set. Also, soundstage. The whole house was on a soundstage.
Yeah,
I
yeah,
did
I
not
saw
know
that.
that.
But Oh, did you? I'm sorry, I didn't hear you. But
No, I didn't know that at
the
all. That's
last thing
fire.
too,
I did not know that.
apparently she told her what's the word for it?
Agent.
Yeah, she told her agent that she didn't want to do any more hard films like this, like any horror films. But she said that she read the script and she loved it and she couldn't pass it up.
Yeah. Yeah, and apparently too, like me and Mike talked about this earlier, but like the director doesn't even see this movie really as a horror movie. He sees it more as just like a really sad drama.
Yeah,
It is, because that's again another thing I was talking about with Jack. It's just like from start to finish, it's not happy. Like, because you think in the last 30 minutes, okay, Annie's got it down, fuck her mom, she's gonna beat this, she's gonna crack the demon, all this shit that's been built up for years. No, instead, your husband catches on fire. They recreate the Pink Floyd cover, which was fire as fuck. Fire as fuck, literally. And then on top of that, her youngest was beheaded, and then she has to get possessed by payment, and then fucking has to go after her own son. And that is just like, it's the saddest tale. Like, this family is fucked from start to end, and now it's just like, where do you go?
Yeah.
Why did she have to be possessed?
It was
Well, it's hereditary. It goes through her family.
Yeah.
Okay, so she was just like a
And that's
side
why it
product of
couldn't
the
really
horror.
affect the husband,
Yeah.
Okay.
because he's not, he's married in, but there's no blood ties.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
I remember my
Light
first
him
time
up.
watching it when I saw it going to Peter, and I put all the pieces together
Mhm.
literally right at the end. I
Yep.
was like, that's why it's called Hereditary. Like
Mhm.
that right there. I'm like, okay, that makes more sense, I guess. Because I'm like, why come up with that name? And then you kind of figure it out right there at the end.
There's also what's really just great about this movie is, like, again, the foreshadowing and like just the symbolism. Because there's the scene where Peter's laying in bed, and it's like probably like 20 minutes after we watched his sister die. And when he's laying in bed and looking at the treehouse, and the mom's sleeping in there, and all you see is the red light flooding out of the treehouse. And then we know how the movie ends, and you're just like, holy fuck. Like, especially the second time around, I did it again. I pulled like a Leonardo from what's it called, Once Upon a Time, where I'm like, hey.
Point at the screen. Well, then too, like another cool thing too was like when the mom was sleeping in there and the heaters are on, and you can see it from space.
Yeah.
Peter's eyes turn red because he's staring at it. That was really cool symbolism too.
Yep.
My favorite shot too was like how the movie started, how it has like the kind of like dollhouse minifigure, like
Yeah, that was so strange.
yeah, and it pans in on the room of the small little building, and it actually is the dad walking in, and like that's how the movie starts.
Yeah, very
I thought
cool
that was really
transition.
cool. Yeah, there's no opening credits to this movie too. You just get right into it. Which
They
I really like that too.
They end it with the dollhouse like thing too, don't they?
Yeah, when they pan out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, we didn't really talk about that. So what does that really symbolize, like the dollhouses?
I think it symbolizes, because the cult's kind of controlling this family throughout the whole movie, basically having their stories
set up.
It's like someone's playing with dolls or toys.
Which reminds me of one of the best episodes of the Twilight Zone, is when they're trapped in there, and at the end it's the little girl giggling because she's fucking like moving the dolls and stuff, and like they find out they're not real, or if they are real, that like there's some giant being that is controlling them.
I mean, that's what's going on with us right now.
Yeah, basically. Well, we are in the simulation.
Well, dude, it's like the I think it's the end of.
When did they get my player a level up?
I think it's the Origins Easter egg where it's like from Zombies. Where it's
Samantha
like them playing with the toys.
Yeah.
And then too, it's like the Moon Easter egg when they're both inside Peter's body. It's like when Richtofen and Sam switch bodies and stuff. So I was like, I'm pulling a lot of stuff from Zombies, but
yeah. But no, that is like, again, I remember thinking that my first time around. I was like, it's like Zombies.
I kind of got that vibe, actually. That's funny you say that.
Yeah. Yeah, so that's what I kind of think. I like that they did that with the dollhouses and stuff like that. And and when she's painting the road, or when she's doing the road that Charlie died on, I'm like, oh, fuck.
Oh.
Even seeing it for a second time, I'm like, that's so fucked.
Yeah, and another thing too about it is like it's also foreshadowing, because right before everything hits the fan is when they come home and notice the smell. But that's when she had went crazy and Annie smashed the house that she was building,
Yeah.
And then again, that's like foreshadowing that this whole house is about to collapse, like for real.
Yeah. I mean, again, too, like I that ending, the ending to this movie, I almost feel like we didn't talk about it enough. It's just like It's perfect. Like that's a perfect horror ending right there.
Mania
'cause-
in the last
Yeah.
20 minutes.
Well, because for the pods, fun fact, because they wouldn't know, I made these guys wait 20 minutes because I got home from work and it's a 2-hour movie. And I was like, all right, I'll just bust it out how much ever I can and then we'll talk about it. But we were getting to the end and 7:30 rolled around. We were going to start recording. I was like, guys, like, I got to finish this. Like, I was going to get up and walk away, but I fucking forgot how much I love this because that ending is like one of the best endings to a horror film that has come out in a while.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, because it's kind of a I don't want to say a slow burn, but a moderately paced movie up until that last 20 minutes, and
Right.
shit just hits the fan.
Mm-hmm. And because like you kind of know there's something like up even when the grandma dies because her room's open
Yeah.
and like on top of that like the mom's in the room and before like she even notices the door is open there's something in the room that she's building the house with, you know, and she's like that's what she talks to her husband. She's like, oh man, I just scared myself working whatever. And but again she's not imagining that, like that is her mom's spirit just straight fucking with them.
Yeah. And then because I mean with all the cult members there too, like they could have intervened and tried to grab Peter or something like that, but they're just there for the show, like they're ready to move on to their next steps. They're just there as a viewing party, peanut gallery to watch. And like that's even creepier when it pans, like when it's showing the house and it goes from day to night and just night and they're instantly a bunch of naked people just surrounding the house.
Didn't see that.
Creepy as fucking shit.
I'm telling you guys, the one where the guy from the funeral was just standing in the doorway.
So creepy.
That's not even scary. You're just like, hey, put that thing away.
It's one of the weirdest things I've ever fucking seen.
Yeah, he's not a small guy. And then and then he's just staring at his dad who's been burned alive and she's just hanging up there on the ceiling. The whole thing's and then going up to the attic and everything like that. It's so creepy.
Well, another scene too that we should talk about where it does show the great acting of both Annie and Peter is when Annie wakes them up and is trying to do the seance, which inevitably just invites the demon into their house. But when she gets like possessed, you know, and taken over and she's like growling and stuff. And then, you know, you hear Charlie and it's Charlie's voice, like asking Peter, like, what's going on? I'm scared. Where's mom? Obviously you can't see mom because she is mom. But then when Peter starts like crying, because again, you got to remember this kid's like 17 years old in high school. Like all he wants to do is smoke weed and like hang out with his friends and talk to girls. And instead he's getting all this. Like, that's insane. And he's like telling his dad, like, make her stop, like she's scaring me and stuff like that. Like that was just a very fucking freaky scene. But again, the acting in that is so great.
Yeah. No, and to give Gabriel Byrne his credit too, the dad, Steve, like when he picks up Peter after Peter's incident with his nose and he just starts breaking down crying at that red light, and there's so many scenes too with him, it's like really powerful. And I feel like he kind of almost gets shafted because even like after I saw it for the first time, I just thought like Tony Collette and like Alex Wolff and stuff, they all did like an amazing job, and I kind of wasn't giving him enough credit because even he like delivers on it.
Well, what I was thinking about, and again, it's down to the writing. I'm sure he's a phenomenal actor and he did great with what he did, but it reminds me of fucking what the hell's his name from Stranger Things? You know, Mr.
Hopper.
Hopper. Not Hopper. Finn's dad in real, or not in real life, but in the movie or in the show. Why the fuck am I blanking on his name?
Yeah.
But that guy. Because he, you know, he always plays stupid. He doesn't care about what the kids are doing. He's like, it's just boys being boys or whatever. You know, that's just his role. And that kind of reminded me of this dad's role in this movie, except for, you know, he gets a little more lines.
Yeah. He's supposed to play this like relaxed, straightforward kind of guy, quiet. You know, he's not supposed to. But like even the dinner scene, it's like you can tell it's like breaking him throughout their arguing and stuff like that. So.
Right. Oh, Mr. Wheeler, Mr. Wheeler's dad. Yeah, there we go.
Yeah, he kind of does remind me of that a little bit now that you say it.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking about this time through. I was like, hey.
Yeah. Well, do you guys want me to read some trivia and then we can get into ratings?
Sounds
I want to hear
Some
of this trivia is crazy. Toni Collette had her agent. Oh, Mike mentioned that. Toni Collette called Ari Aster, the director, the most prepared director she's ever worked with. She praised him for practically having a full movie already shot and edited with his within 2 years of this film like starting. So like him writing the script and everything like that, which that's pretty crazy. Yeah. So like Mike said earlier, I think with the soundstage and everything, he apparently had like all 151 scenes already mapped out as to how he wanted them shot from what angles and stuff before they even got there.
That's a
I think
talented
it was shot
director.
in like 32 days.
Yes, that's another thing too, is it was only shot in 32 days, which
Fuck.
I mean that's crazy too.
This
so
is
like
his only movie.
it's his first movie. I'm not sure if
First
he's made
movie.
one since as this came out in 2018. But yeah, it's his
He'll
first.
be extremely successful.
Yeah, I mean the
Yeah.
fact that like, I mean Toni Collette's been in a ton of things. So like horror movies, comedies, anything, right? Knives Out, like movies like that. So the fact that like she can come in here and say that about a first time director where he has everything already mapped out is pretty
That's
incredible.
awesome.
Yeah. With Hereditary, Ari Aster wanted to make a film about suffering that took suffering seriously, which I'd say this movie does that.
You
You
Yeah.
fucking hit the nail on the head for sure, dude. Fuck.
Yeah. He also wanted to go for scares that were emotionally justified rather than solely leaning on traditional horror jump scares. This
Mhm.
movie really didn't have any jump scares.
I don't think there were really any.
No,
Yeah.
other than when she's upsawing her head. Because he
Yeah.
just pans up. And then again,
But you
even
hear the
then-
noises before.
Yeah, I was
though.
gonna say, even then, no, here's it. Going back and forth. You're like, what is that?
It wasn't
You
even
know
a
something's
jump
going
scare. I
on,
was just like,
You're
oh.
like, oh.
Yeah, well, because I was telling Jack, this is a movie where I wish we could have fucking seen it in theaters.
Mhm.
Like this
Yeah.
would have been crazy. Like the
I
sound
wish I
alone-
would have.
Because Jack pointed out, he's like, can you imagine like hearing the click, but like it comes from only the backside of the theater? You're not hearing it like the full place, like the full area.
Yeah.
Yeah, that would have been nuts.
Well, like when Peter jumps out of the attic and hits the ground, and you see like the light going into him, you hear in the background a head like hit the ground. Like,
Yeah,
you can
yeah,
hear
that's
her
when
head.
the head falls.
Yeah, I don't even remember hearing that the first time I watched it through. So it's like that was pretty cool too. According to Alex Wolff, the original cut for this film was easily going to push over 3 hours.
Damn.
Yeah, the cut footage was mostly consists of family dialogue.
Okay. I think
Um,
they did a great job of that too, because I feel like
This
too
movie
much Family
doesn't-
Dog would
this
have been weird.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it doesn't have that much dialogue, I feel like.
Well, and that's what I like too, because in that amazing monologue that Annie gives, she even says, something good could have came of this. We could have got closer. And
Yeah.
to cut all the dialogue makes that even realer. Because now it's like it's a family, but really it's just 3 people that live in the same house, and the dad looks out for his 2 people. And the other
Yeah.
2 people are emotionally scarred from what the fuck happened.
yeah. Apparently their head production designer, Grace Yoon, had to do extensive research on how to do rituals and cults to prepare for designing the sets.
I believe it, dude.
That would take you to a pretty dark place, I feel like, having to
Yeah.
research shit like that
Mhm.
constantly. This movie contains around 85 minutes of music. And some days they'd work almost 16-hour days. I mean, that's how you get it done in what, 32
30.
days?
Yeah, 32 days.
Alex Wolff said this is the most demanding film that he's ever been a part of. I said this one too, but I'll say it again because it is crazy. The fact that Toni Collette did not land any Golden Globe or Academy Award, Oscars nominations, or anything for her performance in this film was generally regarded as one of the worst snubs of all time. And then I have a couple more here. Alex Wolff decided to go method for this film and insisted on being preferred to as Peter during this production. After filming his very last scene, he introduced himself to the crew as Alex. And to finish this off, once they found the cemetery surrounded by snow, Peak Mountains, they knew that they had the perfect location for this film. And two, I read this earlier on, but it was supposed to, they were originally going to have this be filmed during the winter and have snow everywhere.
Ooh,
But it was in the summer.
Yeah, they shot it in the summer, and then
Wonder
they're able
how
to
that
play it off like it was still cold out there.
Well, because I even said when they showed that funeral scene, and again, where Annie's acting her ass off and crying at the funeral, and as it's the casket's lowering into the ground, I even said, I was like, God damn, that's like a really good shot. I didn't catch that the first time. Like, that's a really cool shot.
Yeah.
But yeah, do you guys want to get to kind of giving your ratings for this?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I want the boys who just watched it for the first time to go.
Okay.
Yeah, I'll start it off. Honest to God, though, I wouldn't consider it a horror film, but in terms of just like recommendations, this might be my favorite, which is really surprising to say because
Mhm.
I'm usually not into this genre. Um, I think one thing that we didn't mention was that Aster kind of wrote it as like two different films, and you can kind of tell like that switch up halfway through where it gets like really, really serious and like you really start diving deep and start really finding those things out that they're foreshadowing in the beginning of the movie. So
Yeah.
it's written as like two different movies almost in one movie, and it's supposed to be that way, which is something that I thought was really, really cool when I was reading up on the movie.
Would you say that the two movies are like the family going through grief, like losing their youngest, and then like the second half is like then we get like the occult stuff that comes in
Yeah.
like that? Yeah, okay.
There's a big
Yeah,
mystery
I can
aspect
literally.
too.
Yeah, I didn't even think about that, but like you're so right because that first half is really just that. Like they're all going through the motions. They lost their grandma, now they lost their child.
It's like a mediation of both almost.
Yeah,
Yeah.
damn.
So yeah,
Span of like 3 days.
seriously though.
Yeah.
But I think with that in mind too, I really like the pacing, honestly. I think I don't know so much about like a slow burn, but more so like a medium pace like build up to something that was just like it wasn't like a like what the fuck moment, like this is like one of the biggest things I've ever like found out in a movie, but it was really, really interesting and it kept you like wanting to know more with like the foreshadowing and just like the little hints here and there.
Mhm.
But other than that, like the acting was absolutely phenomenal. The cinematography was really good. And the fact that it's just like so low budget too, on top of it, just really kind of tops it off for me. Honestly, it's just they made the most of this film for me. So I'm gonna give it a 90 out of 100.
Nice.
Nice.
I think it's a solid score.
Definitely.
Okay. Usually I go last, but I'll go second. I feel like I missed some of this movie because I couldn't see some of the movie, which sounds
That's user
really,
error. That's
really
user error.
stupid, and it is user error. With that said, like Mike mentioned, this movie has really solid pacing. It's not, you don't feel like it's slow. It's not fast. They're not rushing the horror aspects of it. It's got a nice pace. The end, obviously, it kicks it into high gear. It's on an 11 out of 10, and everything's happening. Everyone's figuring out. You can kind of start piecing things together pretty quickly. Even though I would say even with that last 20 minutes in mind, though, for me at least, I still didn't know exactly how it was going to end.
Mhm.
I didn't. I mean, I had an idea, but I thought, oh, maybe she'll figure it out, maybe, and then you watch her slice her own head off, and you're like, okay, well, that's how this is gonna go.
Really quick,
Yeah.
before you finish that, the second that she got possessed, I knew that it was pretty much going to be like, okay, Payment's going to take over Peter's body, and it's pretty much going to be the end of that.
The game, yeah, game over. So I mean, I guess as soon as I saw that, it was fairly clear. But I thought maybe she'd be able to fight it off. I don't know. But with that said, I like this movie. I do want to rewatch it and turn up the brightness and maybe catch a little bit more. Maybe watch it in a very dark room. So with that, I'm gonna give it an 81 until I rewatch it. Maybe I can raise that score, but I still feel comfortable with an 81.
Doyle just gave you the middle finger when you heard that 81, Andrew.
That's
Yeah.
fine. I missed out on some of it.
Yeah, I mean, I'm gonna give it a pretty high score, and I've only seen it twice, and really I didn't even want to watch it again because it fucking scared me so much the first time I watched it. Which I mean, that's that's pretty incredible if you could say that about a horror movie, especially when you're like an adult watching it, right? And it still kind of stays with you. That's pretty incredible. And two, I praised like Strangers because it didn't rely on jump scares, and like this movie really doesn't at all either. It has some of the best acting I think I've ever seen in a horror movie. Yeah, so I'm gonna give it a 92. I really like this movie. Maybe I'll wait another 4 years, 3 years till I watch it again. Because it's hard. I mean, like, because depending on kind of what mindset you're in when you watch this movie, it's really fucking sad. It really is sad. So yeah, I'm gonna go with that score.
Nice. All right. Well, I'll do Andrew's role here, and I'm gonna finish this off.
Thank you.
So again, this is only my second time seeing it. I'm heavily into horror movies and stuff, especially around the month of October. I try to do 31 for 31. Never really works out that way, but I get pretty damn close. But this movie came to me as a recommendation from my old roommate Meeker, and me and him actually watched it for the first time 2020. So I was 21, and yeah, this movie scared the shit out of me, dude. And I think what really got me again, because it's like I've heard about the occult and stuff like that, but to like see it practice like this and like to see it like be real is fucking crazy. And on top of that, like the scene I didn't mention earlier, funny as fuck, is when she is chasing Peter. This is when Annie's chasing Peter throughout the house and leads him to the attic, but she's on the bottom of the attic door in midair, just banging the shit out of her head. Oh my god, I absolutely lost it this time around. I was like, what the fuck is she doing? But no, all in all, this movie is fucking great. The foreshadowing is amazing. That's why, like, even the second time around, again, I put 2 years in between my watch. Like, there's still shit I was catching or like trying to remember, and they do a great job of that. And also another thing for a movie to like for you to finish it and to look up, it's not a what the fuck happened, because you could put it together yourself, but there is the film nerds that dive deep and they'll piece everything together for you, and there's a lot of reading you can do on this movie. That factor of it is like really fucking sick. And like the fun facts you guys were saying, like I didn't know half of those, maybe more than half. Like it's really cool for a movie to do this, especially for a first time fucking director, and these actors just killing it. All in all, love this movie. I think this is one I probably won't rewatch it every year because I don't want to burn it out. This is one where I want to keep, if I touch it in like every like 2 years or every 3 years, where I'll still like be into it. And that, again, not a lot of movies can do that. And so that's why I think this movie deserves the 93 that the critics gave them. Like anything higher than that, I feel like would have been pushing it. I was thinking 92, honestly, but the critic giving it 93, like it does make sense.
I only give him a 90.
Oh, don't give it a 90?
Yeah, right, audiences give it a 69, which is fucking crazy.
Yeah, then I don't know. Maybe they were like Andrew and
maybe they didn't
watch it like in a good enough like lighting. Yeah,
or they're pussies, can't handle it.
Yeah, maybe even that. But I am confident with the solid 93 on that. I think that's going to be one of the best horror movies we get for maybe the next 5 years. Hopefully, someone's able to one up that. Maybe it's going to be the same fucking director. Maybe he'll come around and be able to make something just as good. But yeah, solid 93 to end this off. Great fucking pick. I'm glad that we did this.
Yeah, and that's it. And this is Mike's pick. Credit to him. He had never seen it
pick,
before. He was nervous.
Thank you, Mike.
Thank you, Mike. Shout out, Mike.
Thanks, Mike.
To like Brian just said, it is a really good movie to watch again because you catch so much stuff on the second time through. So it'll be interesting to see if you or Andrew ever rewatch this movie again. And
I will.
Think, yeah, because you catch so much. I mean, even things that we probably missed and didn't say in this.
I'll go buy like a $3,000 OLED TV so I can watch this.
I'm not gonna
turn off the lights.
I'm not gonna lie. After this talk, it kind of makes me want to go watch it again, just a little bit.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, Doyle hold you.
Yeah, have Doyle hold you. Yeah, our next episode is going to be Halloween Ends. Will Jason actually die? Probably not.
Fuck no, they're gonna kill Jamie Lee Curtis so that way they can continue on the franchise without her.
Yeah,
that's my prediction. You're hearing it right here.
Halloween almost
you were just gonna
ends.
say you saw it before. But yeah, so all right, boys.
All right, boys.
I'll
Till
see you
next time.
All right, love you guys.